See, this is the continuation of the previous class. Today morning, a nice presentation given by Manoj and Himarashmi. Right? Manoj spoke about the sleep, right? Sleep command and all. Right? So let me recollect the things that what we were using a sleep in our creating the fork, when creating a process using the fork and all. That I'll show to you. But before that, let me recollect whatever that we were doing in the last class, right? So we have gone through the concept of the process, right? I told you that when operating system will act as a resource manager, the management, when you look into that, there are different kinds of resources. Okay, process is one of the, processor, is one of the, process is one of the resources, right? Then you have a memory, right? Then you have a device, right? All these things. So now when you look at these aspects, okay, let me share with you about those things. Here, we were here, right? So processor, memory, device, okay, it will act like a resource manager. These are all resources. So when you look at the processor, like the kind of services that what we can get it from the operating system is creating a process, managing the process, right? Then process synchronization, right? All the things, right? So, and also we have gone through the state diagram, process state diagram. Okay, new, ready, running, okay, terminated, waiting. These are all different state in which a process exists. Process is nothing but a program in execution, right? So these are the different states that what we have referred it, right? So the process is being created that will be into the new state. The instructions are being executed that is in the running state. The process is waiting for some event to occur, right? That is in the waiting state. The process is waiting for to be assigned to a processor, right? It is in a ready state, and process has finished its execution, right? It's in a terminated state and all. So this is the state, right? So when and yesterday I used the one term, right? Switching, right? And when you schedule a particular process, right, there are different strategy that is being used. Maybe it could be first come first serve, or it could be a round robin kind of things, or it could be based on the priority kind of things, whatever may be the priority, right? Okay, now when you switch from one process to the other process, we call context switch, right? So we need to store all the details of the process so that when it is brought back again, you can execute the program from the point where you are stopped. Look at the some of the where do you store the information, right? So we call this as the control block, process control block, task control block, or whatever that is there. So what all the information that you store, right? It is a process state and it is a process ID, right? Yesterday we have executed one program, right, to how to display the process ID, get PID, and process parent ID, get PPID, right? This we already gone through. And also, when a process, when a program is running, it makes use of the registers for doing its internal computations and all, right? So memory limits, list of open files, all this information that is being stored in the structure called process control block. This is the most important thing, and this information will be used for all your context switching and all these things. This is where exactly we are stopped, right? So are you okay with this? Any question from lateral entry students? And also I told you, okay, when you look at these different state, right, every process which gets into that particular state, it is being stored in a queue, and we have a ready queue, right? The CPU schedule the process that is waiting in a ready queue, picks that one using one of the strategy. Could be round robin, could be first come first serve, could be priority based, right? Whatever it may be, right? And details of all the scheduling the procedures and all will see it in the next semester. Now look at that. If it is waiting for the IO, you have a IO queue, right? Like this, there are different queues. Okay, people, process are waiting there, right? So once the waiting period gets over, after completing what for it is waiting and all, okay, that process is put back into ready queue, right? So that's how you can conceptualize the queuing that takes place, right? And correlate that with the what you can say, the state diagram that which already you have gone through. There is another thing which I would like to share with you, right? Look at that. See, more processes are submitted than what can be executed immediately, right? So these processes now that's okay spooled to a mass storage device, typically a disk, where they are kept for later execution, right? Now, right, which is all the process which are spooled in the disk, right? You pick that one. A selection of the process for execution by CPU is carried out by an appropriate scheduler, right? So you have a scheduler at what stage and how exactly they work. Okay, we call them as a long-term scheduler, okay, short-term scheduler, medium-term scheduler, like this. Now, when you look at the long-term scheduler, details we'll see in the next semester. But just for the sake of completeness, I'm putting all these things to you. The long-term scheduler or the job scheduler we call, select the process from the pool. Typically in the disk, where it is okay, all processes are okay spooled. Okay, it is usually more number of okay jobs are being okay put into that, right? It picks from that a long-term scheduler, or it is called a job scheduler. Select the processes from this pool and loads them into the memory for execution, right? Loads them into the memory, right? Now, if you compare that with the process state diagram, it is a new one, right? Yes, right? Then you have something called short-term scheduler or the CPU scheduler. Select from among the processes that are ready to execute and allocate the CPU to one of them. Please okay, recollect the diagram that whatever I have shown, right? Here, ready queue, right? So the job scheduler picks from the disk and puts in the ready queue. That is a long-term scheduler or the job scheduler. Then the short-term scheduler, right, picks the one from this ready queue and allocate the CPU, right? And based on the strategy, which one it will pick based on the strategy. And usually some small amount of time that's given for execution of that. If the process completes its execution within that time, is all right, it gets terminated, right, after completion. Otherwise, it has to wait in the other queue, right, and the long short-term scheduler picks another one in the ready queue based on the strategy I told you, first come first serve, or the could be shortest job first, or could be round robin or priority, whatever that is there, right? Now look at the role of the short-term scheduler, right? Thus, I told you short-term scheduler or it is a CPU scheduler, right? Select the process that is to be executed from the ready queue, right? Long-term scheduler, job scheduler, select the process, okay, that is got into the ready queue, right? Thus, right? Now, okay, there is something called as a medium-term scheduler, right? Now look at this particular diagram, right? So the job get admitted into the system, comes in a ready queue, right? And the nature of the okay job or the program or the thing process in a ready queue, they are different. It could be, you can refer it as IO bound and the CPU bound. Now look at that. If all the processes are IO bound, the ready queue will be almost always an empty, and the short-term scheduler will have a little to do. Please understand this, because all are IO bound, a lot of IO operation will be done, right? It is waiting in IO queue, right? Then on the contrary, if all the processes are CPU bound, then IO waiting queue will be almost always be empty. Device will go unused, and again the system will be unbalanced, right? So it is important that the long-term scheduler select a good process mix of IO bound and CPU bound, right? So that the system with the best performance will thus have a combination of your CPU bound and IO bound process, right? Hope you are getting that. Now, at this junction with this particular concept, the medium-term scheduler comes into the picture. Now, look at this here. The medium-term scheduler can be added if the degree of multi-programming needs to decrease. Very objective which we have started that we wanted to increase the degree of multi-programming, the more and more. But here we are talking about, okay, degree of multi-programming needs to be decreased. Why? Right? To balance between the IO bound and CPU bound. That means what it does, remove a process from the memory, store on the disk. That means it will swap out. Look at that, medium term scheduler picks something which will swap out and brings it back so that you can, okay, as a part of the ready queue, you can balance it. CPU bound and IO bound, you can balance it so that the effectively all these, okay, things are being used. And it will start continuing execution. Okay, this process is called swapping. It is swapped out and again it is brought in, swap in. And look at the important comment which you can look for this swapping out and swapping in by the medium term scheduler. Look, the key idea behind the medium term scheduler is, I already told you, sometimes can be advantageous to remove the process from the memory, right? And thus reduce degree of multiprogramming. Later, the process can be reintroduced into memory and its execution can be continued wherever it is left off. And this what we call as a swapping, right? The process is swapped out and again it is brought in. Please look into that by medium term scheduler so that you can improve. I told you already, the process mix, or many times it may so happen that the change in the memory requirement, right? Maybe when a job admitted, it has over committed the memory requirement and it's being admitted inside. But when you look at that, it doesn't need that much and you observe that one. So in that case, what you can do is a medium term scheduler can pick that one and swap out and it can be admit that one with a lower requirement, right? So whatever it is over committed, the memory and all can be freed up and so that it can optimize its usage and all these things. So that's the role of the medium term scheduler. So please look into that when you go through any topic and all, you should okay, be in the position to visualize the possible questions right from this. Maybe explain the different state of a process. Okay, write a state diagram and explain the different state of a process. Then what is scheduling, what is swapping, what is context switching, right? Then what is the need for the medium term scheduler, right? How now try to distinguish long-term scheduler, medium-term scheduler, and short-term scheduler in terms of their functionality, role, and responsibility. Right. So when you read a particular paragraph from the textbook, you must read a book textbook. Don't refer PPTs. PPTs are the short extract of the textbook, which will help for the presentation and not completeness. Right. So any question at this stage? You all people have gone through the operating system in your diploma level course. Hope it will add, okay, or it has enabled you to recollect whatever that you have gone through, right? Donny, right? Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. Please go through all these things. Now, is it okay that one we will migrate ourselves to few programming exercises again? To the mixture again, like I told you, no. Again, now I'm acting like a medium term scheduler. I'm swapping out all my PPTs here, taking you to the programming things, so that we can balance theoretical aspect and the practical aspects. Doing something. Is it okay? Shall I migrate?
Yes, sir.
Right. That's good. That's good. Right. So tomorrow, and slowly we will get into the slowly we'll get into programming system calls. We'll cover, right. There are many system calls like we move towards LS implementation, file attributes and all, reading files, okay, from reading files, writing into files, opening the files, all these aspects we'll look into, and thereby we cover the unit number 1 and 2, right? So let's get into few exercises, few programs. I hope that you all people have installed the Unix operating system and started working with the programs, whatever that we have shown, we have discussed in the last class. In last class, we have gone through this fork, right? And I told you, right, look into this. I'll be marking on the screen. 1 minute, why this marking is not happening? 1 minute, right. Uh, it's not happening here. Right, all right. Okay. See here. You are using the fork. I told you yesterday, right? Fork returns a value, right? It is less than 0 if at all there is an error, right? It creates a child process, and the code from the immediate line will be executed by both the parent and child, right? I mean, code, right? Okay, the written from the immediate line, okay, that will be executed, right? So here it is being executed by both, okay, parent and child. But how do you distinguish, right? It's a shade, right? The code is shared between the, I mean, the child will get a copy of the parent code here. So you need to distinguish the parent and child. How do you do that? This return variable, I mean return value stored in the variable called PID here. The value of this will be 0, right, in case of the child process, right? That is non-zero PID of the child process in case of a parent. And today morning, Manoj SCR was talking about the use of the sleep command. Look at that, I'm using here sleep. Now when both are executed here, right, which one will execute first, whether the child or parent? You don't have control on that. It depends on how it's being scheduled. But now look at that, in this case, I'm using sleep, okay, so that I'm delaying the execution of that. It's a waiting. It's a waiting. So during this period, like the context switch will take place probably, and the child may get the turn and execute that one. So I'm forcing the child to execute this first, right? So we have seen this, okay, yesterday, right? Shall I execute this program for you once again for your benefit? 37 fork, right? That's code. So CC, right? Look at that. The compilation, I want to create instead of a dot out, I'll say that one CC, right? Now I'll create a dot out CC 37 fork.c. Hope that's a file name here, right? Right. Now I'll run this a dot out. Right? See here, the child is running first. And you can note that one, its ID is 3018 and its a parent ID is 3017. Parent is a main program which has created that as a parent. Now you can relate that one. A parent, when it shows that one, its ID is 3017. Thereby, the child and parent relationship, you can see it on the screen here. And Dhoni, can you tell me that one? Okay, the parent of this parent, whose ID is 2617. What is this? Who is this? Who is this? Yesterday I told you. Hello? Who is this?
The parent ID, sir.
No, I know that it's a parent ID, right? Parent, in this case, there is a child and there is a parent. The parent is telling that my parent is 2671. Who is that?
So it's dash.
Yeah, exactly. The shell, whatever the shell that you are using, okay, is that. And how to check that one? The 2671 is the shell, okay, ID and all. How to check it? Yes. minus E. Check the PS, right? All the processes are displayed here. Look at that 26, what is that I said? 7.1. In this case, in my system, the shell uses bash, not necessarily bash. There are many shell. Okay, we'll look into that one in unit number 4 and 5. Right? Is that clear? Okay, that's good. Now, okay, the question to you now is this, right? I'll go to the next one. Right. So the same program, but little change. Now look at that. Before the fork, I'm printing this. I'm printed only once by parent process only, as a child do not exist at this stage. Right? When I call a fork here, a child gets created, and a code from the immediate line will be executed. I'll tell you by both parent and child, because child gets a copy of the parent code from the next immediate line, everything. So here I'm executed by both parent and child, it says. You people can take a screenshot at a regular interval if it is required. Right, you can see the output. I'm printed only once by the parent process only, as child do not exist. At this stage, the child do not exist. But the moment the fork you find, right, you will find two roads here. One is a parent road, other one is a child road. Both will have a same copy of the code, so it executes. Copy, it gets a copy. Are you clear about this? Are you clear? Dhoni,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
you need to acknowledge. When I say, okay, are you clear? Dhoni will acknowledge, he is a representative, and others also can unmute if at all they wanted to stop me and ask question. Right. Now look at this. This is the, okay, the exercise for you now. I'll give you 2 minutes time to please work out. Right? How does it works? Right? In earlier program, I used one fork. Now I'm using two fork, one after the other. Right? You should use your common sense and let me know what is an output of this. I'll give a 5 minutes time to you all people. Work out on the paper. Right? I'll ask each one of you. Right? Please do that. Until that, I'll be doing my work here. Please do it, all of you on the paper. Hint is, I told you that code from immediate line will be code from the immediate line. Wherever fork is used, it is being executed by both parent and child. A new child is created at that point. Now the next line is again a fork. And I told you, parent and child will have a same copy. I mean, the child will get a copy of the same code. Now the next line is again a fork is there. So this is the end. Sorry, go. Okay. You parla ya copy. Okay. Now ಕೊಡ್ರಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಇತರದ್ದು CIE ಮಾರ್ಕ್ಸ್ ಏನಪ್ಪಿಲ್ಲ ಆಯ್ತು ಆಯ್ತು ಇದು ಟಾಪ್ ನಾವು A division B division ನಾವು ಕವರ್ ಶೀಟ್ ಇದ್ದಂಗೆ ಬೇಕು ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿಕ್ ಕ್ಯಾಲೆಂಡರ್ ಇದು ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿಕ್ ಆಡಿಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ 16 ತಾರೀಕು ಇವತ್ತು ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ನೋಡಿ 2:30 Once you are ready, you please unmute and call me. Anybody who has done it, right? Lateral entry students only. Other people not to share.
Hello, sir.
Who's this?
Nandish, sir.
Okay, Nandesh, right? We'll
Yes, sir.
work on this. 1 minute. I will also work on that because I may also need to work along with you, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead. Right? Can you explain?
Yes, sir. So first of all, there is a child, which can be only created by using the parent process ID. Means, the child is the child exists only when the parent exists, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Creates a child process. Code from immediate line will be executed by both parent and child process, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Means only its parent can process the child, sir.
Now tell me, right? In other words, right? How many printfs that this line number 16? How many times it is executed?
Sir, sir, actually it is
In somebody's house, right? Okay, our pranamams to all gods, whatever whoever is worshipping. Thank you. Good. I like it. Okay. How many times line number 16 will appear on the screen and who all will print that?
sir, it is executed by any parent ID, sir.
No, no,
Means
no.
that
Not any. How many times this will appear on the screen? And
Sir, 4 times.
what behind that? Why it is appearing those many times? Who does each output?
sir, the 16th line will appear as many as times we want we give, sir, because we have not mentioned it, sir.
Gentlemen, gentlemen, look at that. I told you that a fork will create a child. That means at that time, parent is there, child is there. And
Yes, sir.
the code from the immediate line will be executed by both the parent and child, I told you. Right? So
Yes,
line
sir.
number 10, okay, you have a parent P1, look at that,
Yes, sir.
parent
Yes,
P1
sir.
and child C1. Right? Now both will
Yes, sir.
execute line number 13. That means the parent P1 again it will create one more. The child C1 will again create again its child. So C1 child will become parent for its child.
Yes, sir.
Right, 1 minute. Look into that. Now I will explain to you. All of you listen here. I will explain all these things on my screen right here. Please look into that carefully. Right? See, there are two things. I'll use F1 for fork 1, then immediately F2 is there for the fork 2, Then I'll use a print statement. Print, what is printing? It's a parent ID and its ID. Do you agree? In short, I'm writing this. Do you agree? This is the code. Do you agree? All of you, do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now look at that. At line number F, this one, F1, whatever it is, line number 16 or whatever it is, just have a look into that. So what it does, it creates, right, so something like this. Okay, you have a parent P1 and child C1. Now consider that its ID is its ID is 01. I'll call PID. Assume its ID is, say, call it as a 02. Is it clear? Is it clear at this stage now?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now look at that. When next fork is being executed, it is executed by both parent and child. That means this child will create one more. It will continue. It will continue with its own ID. As in that child is C1 is executed first, right? It will IDs too, and it's a child. I'll say C1 1. I'll say its ID is say 3. Do you agree? Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now look at that. The P1. Okay. At this stage, it will also execute the fork 2. So it will continue as a grandparent and it will have its own child, right? This will continue as P1 and with its original ID, whatever it is there, and a new child, I'll call it as a C2. And let the ID be 4 here. IDB, let it be 4 for understanding purpose, right? All these 4, right, are running here with the relationship whatever it is. Right? Now you have a print statement. After that, this print statement is being executed by all 4 processes. Right? So it will also print, it will also print, it will also print, it will also print like this. Do you agree? Hmm? Right? So what C1
Yes, sir.
will print? It will print that I am 03, my parent is 02. What C1 will print? I am 02, my parent is 01. What C2 will print? I am 04, my parent is 01. What P1 will print? I am 01, my parent is shell, whatever I am using. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Right? Have you understood this? This is from the place
Yes.
perspective also you can prepare. So my friend is here, Govind, okay, expert in Unix operating system. Right? He likes it, loves it. Right? Am I right? Govind? Fine. Okay, this kind of micro level look at everything that will help you to prepare for the placement in every course, not only this. Okay, and in fact, it will trigger you to read any unknown topic of the book, of any book, any topic on your own. It will make you self-learn. Okay, better self-learning can happen. Are you getting it? So shall we run it and see it now?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
That's good. That's good. Now let's get into this. A program. Okay. Now look at that. I am printed only once by the parent process only as child do not exist. This will appear only once. Fork, fork, and this will be printed by 4 times. This is printed 4 times. And you know who all printing. And we'll try to, after getting an output, we'll try to relate who is who. Right? Who's who. Right? So this is the code number 39.4. I'll run this. CC 39.4.c. Name of the file This is in my repository 39th program. That's all. Now look at this. Right. Let's look into that. I am printed. Now you can compare this with here. Right? I am printed only once by the parent process. Is this okay? This one. Is this okay? Is it okay? Say yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now look at that. Okay, among all these things, because same message is there, I did not distinguish who is who, right? So now we have to look into their ID, their parent ID. Okay, with that we need to correlate. Now look at that. 3036 and parent ID is 2671. Likely this is the bash in my system, right? So this is P1 in our diagram, right? Parent, grandparent, right? First fork might have created a child. Who is the child? I have to look into whose parent is 3036. Now what happens is, very interesting thing has happened. 3036 is not there at all here. Right? The reason is, right? The reason is the parent has executed that, the grandparent executed that and terminated. Right? Once it is terminated, right? So these children are still there. Who is the parent for that? For the new concept, even I also don't know. Right now, I know it, but right now I don't know. Right? So 1892. So what is that 1892? I need to check that one. Do that. Check it. PS. Right? Here. I mean, if a parent, for any child, if the parent die, right, abruptly like this, then what about the children? For every children, who is the godfather? In this case, 1892, let's see that who is 1892? Who is 1892? 1892, look, is a unique process. 1892 is a unique process. What is unique process? Now, let me not get into ahead of time too much in early this thing. I mean, I'm telling you that how your curiosity can be driven and get into, rather than finding that one, what is the new release that today morning supposed to Kannada, what is that, what is the new movie release is going to happen today? Which yesterday it was leaked, famous movie, what is that? Can anybody name? They were supposed to release today.
KGF, sir.
Huh?
KGF, sir.
KGF 3, yeah, that's good. 2 or 3, I don't know. Okay, you have a curiosity to see that one, no? Same curiosity, develop it here. What is in it? 1892. Get into that. Ahead of time, you can do. And that's self-learning drive. Right? Yesterday, people have looked that KGF 2 or 3. Was it 2 or 3?
2, sir.
2. Oh, right. People have leaked that one, right? And people have a curiosity looking at that teaser, Am I right, Dhoni? Right? So
Yes,
this is
yes,
it
sir.
clicks. This is again a teaser. You should create a curiosity among you people, right? So that is a learning that can. Himarashmi, Manoj, do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Does right? So you can look into the kind of an output you can get it, right? Now I don't want that. I wanted the parent not to die immediately. It has completed its work. I want it to make it to wait. What should I do? Make it to sleep or make it to wait for its children to complete. That is another syntax which we will see it later. Okay. I think today morning he has introduced some kind of a sleep, right? Can you introduce that sleep and see what happens? Right? So in the first program we have seen it now. Look at that. Right? You can distinguish a child and parent.
Sir,
Hello?
sir,
Hmm.
I have a doubt, sir, in that 37 fork.c, sir.
Mhm.
Sir, when exactly does that fork returns an error, sir? In what case, sir?
In what case? So look at that. We were referring, this is Manoj, you know?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Look at that. We were talking about the POSIX standard. Do you remember?
Yes, sir.
Right. Every POSIX standard has its own dictation. Right. In whoever follows my POSIX standard, okay, there, right, maximum number of child process, whatever it can create, I mean, any process can create is something limited to this. Are you okay?
Yes, sir.
Right. If at all you cross that, okay, unable to create a child, then it gives an error. This is one of the case.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Right. Now, again, curiosity, KGF 3 now. Right. So, how do I test it? Right. What to do is, okay, find out the number by referring POSIX standard. Right. Then what to do is, okay, create beyond that the child by this thing and see that when will it break and will it show the error or not? KGF 4.
Yes, sir.
And this is called self-learning. And everything will not happen in the classroom.
Sir,
Everything will not happen in the classroom. It will happen in front of the internet, during tea break, during canteen discussion, during midnight, okay, all these things, okay, when you people do brainstorming.
yes, sir.
Understood? No, whenever you ask that one, I'm not getting, I'm getting error here, what to do? I said that you have to do it and get back to me. Himarashmi.
Yes, sir.
And the more you resolve, you will become a mastered in that. When I say mastered, doesn't mean that you remember these all these things throughout your life. No, you get an ability so that you can keep on solving different problems. Don't think that fork is the one which will decide and get you the placement. No, sorry. And fork is the one throughout your professional career you do it. No, not at all. You might not exhibit a fork in your life at all after this course. But learning on your own will trigger you to learn a lot of things happening around. Probably if you are very good, when your learning habits are good, probably you will learn a Python in one day only. Going, am I right? Then you don't need a teacher at all. More you depend on the classroom and teacher, think that you have not learned properly the previous course. Going, am I right? And that is what I'm telling you people. Himarashmi, now you understood, no? Why I'm asking you people to give presentation.
Yes, sir.
That's good. Right? Tomorrow, Saturday, again I have a class. I wanted either Manoj or Himarashmi, right? Okay, explain about the fork and V fork. Now the session is getting closed. I wanted Himarashmi to explain the difference between fork and V fork, and Manoj will explain, Manoj or his team, or Himarashmi or her team, anybody, right? It is open for all to explain EXEC. Tomorrow,
Yes.
tomorrow 8 o'clock, be ready. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, right? Fork and before quickly. The same example, whatever I used, right? And, okay, under 15 minutes, right? EXEC and difference between fork and fork everything. Are you
Sir, for voice, it is EXEC, sir.
Yeah, whatever example we are given.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay, now the session is getting closed, right? I'll stop here, right? All lateral entry student, refer our earlier videos, right? Refer assignment, keep on doing, and any programming assistance required, connect it to Himarashmi and Manoj, they will help you, and entire code is made available in the Google class. Type it as it is, try, play around, okay? Are you okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I will, I will close my session.
Sir.
Wait. 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute.
Yes, sorry, sir.
Okay, tell me now.
Sir, in the folk program, sir, what Manoj asked, sir, what condition or what should we give so that it gives an error, sir?
I told you, keep on creating more number of children beyond the limit permitted.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
And after that, the moment you create a fork, so put the fork in the loop. See,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
see what happens. Right?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, good. Right? Right? If anybody can try that one and let me know, okay, I'll be more happy. Do it. Thank you. Okay. Is the learning okay? Himarashmi, Manoj, Dhoni,
Yes, sir.
right? All lateral entry student with
Yes, sir.
station, you can connect with me. Similarly with all other courses, right? On your own, right? For any details required beyond this. Bye. I'll close end my meeting. Tomorrow 8 o'clock, all regular and lateral both. Thus, bye.